Welcome to the Athena Wellness Podcast, the show that invites you to take a seat around the community fire and listen to stories that inspire. I'm your host, Kathy Robinson, author, coach, and founder of Athena Wellness, a company that's dedicated to supporting you as you create your next chapter, turning life transitions into transformation. Hello and welcome, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that I have a new free resource. It's a short guide titled 5 Questions to Explore a Soulful Second Chapter, and it's perfect if you're thinking of leaving your professional career and considering what's next. You can download it at athenawellness.com/reimagine. And I'll also put a link in the show notes so you can check it out. Let's begin today's episode. If you're listening in real time, it's February, and tomorrow is February 29th. It's leap year. As I mentioned last episode, it reminded me of a book I read a few years back called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And he wrote a follow-up book called Your Big Leap Year, which was recently released and I just bought. Last week I shared some thoughts on the premise and principles included in the original book, The Big Leap. And this week we'll talk about specific strategies you can consider implementing from the newest offering, Your Big Leap Year. I've included a link to the author's website, hendricks.com, in the show notes so you can check out his books and his institute. We'll start with an overview of his latest book, Your Big Leap Year. Then as your takeaway, I'll share some thoughts on how to use this model for your own life transitions. First, the overview. The purpose of Your Big Leap Year is to go beyond the concepts the author included in The Big Leap and help you take action. Those concepts include the ways you self-sabotage your success and how to live from a place where you love what you do while making a contribution to the world. You can think of Your Big Leap Year as a practical guide that helps you implement this material in a manageable, consistent way. More specifically, it can help you with 3 things: daily progress, overcoming challenges, and consistent action. Let's take them one by one. The first is how to break down big goals into daily steps. Each page of this book begins with a day number, such as day 57, which is where I am as of this morning. This allows you to begin the process at any point during the year, so you can start whenever you feel ready to take a life leap. The book is designed like a page-a-day calendar with brief, actionable exercises and prompts for the day that move you along the path of an ascending spiral, working with themes that move you toward more love, abundance, and creativity. The second is overcoming your self-imposed limitations. Much of the material and activities help you identify and address your limiting beliefs and fears, those strong emotions and habits that hinder your progress and prevent you from living your desired life. You are then given tools and techniques to transcend these challenges. And the third is using little leaps to make progress. There's an emphasis on creating sustainable change, and this happens gradually. Included in the daily leaps are important psychological shifts to help you support yourself as you get ready to make the desired leap. And as you know, I'm a big fan of consistency as a means to make significant positive change, and that's at the heart of this guide. My favorite aspect of what Hendricks is offering is this idea of an ascending spiral of change. This is important whether you decide to use a tool like Your Big Leap Year or you're looking to implement change on your own. To create an ascending spiral of change, you need to identify the concepts and skills you want to learn and apply to affect the change. And then you want to organize them in a way that won't overwhelm you so you can build on these concepts and skills in phases. I'll use the way Hendricks organized your big leap year as an example of how to do this. He breaks his material into 3 cycles that I'll outline so you can recognize them if you choose to work with the book. This structure will also be helpful if you choose to create your own way. The first cycle is the launching cycle. This is the first 4 months of the program, days 1 through 120. This initial cycle is all about awareness. It lays the groundwork for the change you're trying to instill. It's a self-discovery phase where you identify and accept what's been holding you back from making this transition. In your big leap year, the daily passages explore themes like limiting beliefs and fears, the patterns that keep you in place, and ways to increase your self-awareness and personal responsibility so you can build the foundation needed for sustainable change. The second cycle is the breakthrough cycle. This is the second 4 months, days 121 to 240. This cycle is about moving beyond your perceived limitations. This section is comprised of tools and techniques to help work with your fears, overcome challenges, and build momentum to spend more time doing the things you love that impact the communal greater good. The third cycle is the mastery cycle. This is the last 4 months of the program, days 241 to 366 if it happens to be a leap year. The final cycle is a celebration of sorts. It puts you on a path of growth and expansion. This is the phase that helps you integrate the habits you've been building, along with leveraging your momentum to create a fulfilling and meaningful life. What I love about this model is the upward flow of learning, practicing, implementing, and integrating. There's a feeling of building towards something, which is more agreeable to those who want to make a big change in a measured way. I also love that the themes are revisited but not duplicative. As you grow and learn, you'll work with familiar concepts but in a new way, raising the stakes just a bit. It's like climbing a ladder. Each individual step up is doable, yet your perspective shifts with each one. And now your takeaway. I should note that I have no affiliation with this book, and I never met the author. I just remember how helpful it was to me when I was thinking of taking the big leap of leaving my secure corporate career for the unknown territory of starting my own business. And since you may be considering your own big leap, I thought this information might be helpful. If you'd rather not use the book and have the willingness and discipline, you can absolutely develop a similar structure to take consistent small leaps that will, over time, cover a vast amount of ground. Here's what I suggest if you want a do-it-yourself option. 1. Define your big leap. What is it that you want to accomplish this coming year? And be specific. For example, prepare for retirement is a good start, but hard to work with on a daily basis. Instead, add concrete detail, something like to have my business operational, or to have a first draft of my book completed, or to begin working part-time or volunteer at an organization I want to devote more time to once I retire. The second is to identify your challenges. Perhaps you lack the confidence in your ability to make such a leap, or maybe you don't have the clarity you need. Perhaps boundaries are an issue. Dig deep into what's holding you back so you can identify the underlying limiting beliefs. 3. Create key themes. Identify areas you can explore that are linked to each limiting belief. For example, if you don't have the energy for a big leap, perhaps the first thing to explore is how to build healthy habits. Or if you're unsure what you're good at, maybe you want to work on self-awareness. If you've been neglecting your own development, maybe you'd like to start with personal growth. 4. Link themes to daily small steps. Once you've identified 1 to 3 themes you'd like to work with, identify areas of interest and then create a series of scheduled micro-tasks, the smallest steps you can take and still move forward. For example, if you were looking for ways to explore healthy habits, a micro-task might be ordering Atomic Habits by James Clear, my favorite book on the topic. And of course, there's always the book, The Athena Principles, to consider, she said in a shameless plug. And 5, make it a practice. Speaking of habits, you'll need to find a way that works for you to consistently define and schedule these micro-tasks. I have a weekly practice. On Sunday night, I spend a half hour reviewing my calendar for the upcoming week, along with projects that are due. I schedule my time for the week to meet my professional commitments, and I also schedule my workout time, meditations, walks, and a few household activities that I can forget about when the week gets rolling. Then each evening, I write a short list of my schedule and the things I want to focus on during the next day. I also gather any materials I need so when my workday begins the next morning, I'm ready to go. As we bring this episode to a close, I'd like to revisit the 2 questions I posed in last week's episode. I asked you to consider 1, where have I been limiting success in my life? And 2, how much time am I spending in each of the 4 zones we discussed? The first question, where have I been limiting success in my life, was meant to give you some raw data on how to choose your discovery themes we just spoke about. The second question, how much time am I spending in each of the 4 zones, was meant to give you a baseline so you can see the progress as you begin to take your micro leaps. I'll leave you today with a quote from Your Big Leap Year. Quote, "There's nothing like the power of systematic daily practice to bring forth your genius. Even if you get wisdom in a dazzling flash of enlightenment, it's the daily practical use of it that makes the difference." Unquote. Thanks for listening. Have an amazing day, and I'll meet you right back here next week. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know there are many ways you can spend your time. Thank you for choosing to spend it with me. Until our paths cross again, be kind to yourself and show your warrior spirit some love. If you know anyone who could benefit from today's episode, please pass it on. And many thanks for supporting the show by subscribing and leaving a review. It means a lot, and it helps others find their way to our circle. If you'd like to access the show notes, have a question you'd like addressed on a future episode, or would like a transcript of this episode, visit www.athenawellness.com/podcast. Until next time, be well.